Free. The hostages are free. And how could you not be happy? Except the political left is not happy. So the answer is, how could you not be happy? You didn't want these people to be free at all. You wanted Hamas to win. And Democrats need to look themselves in the mirror. It might not have been them specifically, but it's people they support. They wanted Hamas to win. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. It's very good to be with you. Grab it, smoke. That's a cigar right there. We'll talk about it. Let the show begin.
Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change, and change very much for the better.
So we have peace. No, we don't have peace. What we have is an opportunity.
Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change, and change very much for the better. Like the USA right now, it will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East. It's going to work together. I'd like to thank several great American patriots for their invaluable help in getting something done that almost everyone thought was absolutely impossible. We were wasting our time.
That much is true. That is exactly what they thought. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. President Trump got it done. 20 hostages alive returned to their families. It started at 1 a.m. Eastern time. It was supposed to start at 2 a.m. I know this because I woke up. I want to see it happen for myself. And it already started. 7 hostages were returned. This happened in 2 more tranches. Hostages being returned to Israel. The idea that this is over, the idea that there is peace, allow me to say that simply is not accurate. It's too simplistic, and it is predicated on the idea that one can have peace with a terrorist organization. The problem for that terrorist organization, the problem for Iran, is that they're now on the outside. They don't have the people rallying to their cause, rallying to their support, rallying to their screaming. Rather, going back to the Abraham Accords, we have a complete rewrite of what the conversation should be about or can be about. It isn't about what about the Palestinians. It's, hey, can we have a relationship and then we'll talk about this thing? Hey, can we do some trade together? Then can we talk about this thing? Hey, can we make some money together? Then can we talk about this thing? That is a fundamental shift. A very fundamental change.
After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity.
Nice, but not reality. But we don't have to be the people who dive into the insanity of how impossible peace is with terrorists. Rather, we have to ask ourselves what it is that was accomplished, what it is that got done, and how this came about. And maybe more to the point, how wrong others were in its incapacity and its incapability to get done. The argument that this is only something Trump can put together, I would put forth a a different argument, a quasi different argument. Let's just call it a different argument. If you are of the standard type, you could only come up with the standard thought. That's reality. Everyone who had come before was a person of the standard thought. Let me also say, including the Israelis. If we are going to discuss the thing that is different and that allowed all other things to be different, certainly you can argue Donald Trump, President of the United States. In less than a year, the hostages are back. In less than a year, the hostages are back. That is remarkable stuff. But let's dig a little deeper and ask ourselves, what is it that has changed? What is it that changed in the situation? Well, you could argue that what changed in the situation is that Hamas, a terrorist organization funded by Iran, murdered 1,200 people and took hundreds of hostages. And in every normal setting, situation, historical backdrop, what you would have is the world saying, okay, Israel, all right, that's enough. And Israel saying, okay, and being all frustrated because they know that these terrorists are going to kill them again and they're sick and tired of it. That's the standard. In this situation, what Israel said is, no, we're not done yet. Yeah, but you're just beating these people up. Yeah, we're not. We'll tell you when we're done. And then Hamas said, whoa, you're not supposed to do this much. And Israel said, we're just getting started. And then they set off some hardware that they had in Iran and killed leadership right there in Tehran, right under the Ayatollah's nose, his disgusting, despicable, ugly nose. And then when the Iranians said, we're going to put together a team and we're going to root out these Israeli infiltrators who are spying on us, and you are in charge. And the general said, you got it. And that was an Israeli infiltrator. The Iranians have no idea what they're doing. And then they even down to the saber rattling, you're not going to touch our nuclear facilities. Bam, pow, ping. President Trump admits as much. None of this would have been possible if we hadn't taken out their nuclear facilities and shown the world exactly the kind of people we are and exactly the kind of people they are. They ain't got no nuclear weapons now. They can't threaten anybody now. You actually have a chance. Which just proves how wrong Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson were. So very, very wrong, as they have proven themselves to be time and time again. Listen, they're not going to talk about me. They don't know me. And if they did, as long as they spell my name right, I'm cool with it. Everything else, I don't care if they like me. Screw them. Means nothing. For Candace is a broken human being. But Tucker is just on Israel, just flat out wrong on everything. So let's leave that there. But even the taking out of the nuclear facility, that's not what led to Israel being like, no, we're handling this. Israel saying, we're going to take care of this. We're done. October 8th, Israelis are like September 12th, September 12th Americans. Just had enough. Oh, that's what terrorists are? Terrorists have to go. We're done here. We're not going to try and be nice. We're not going to try and pretend. We don't want to understand you, which is understandable. But even if we are to take a look at how the Israelis responded to this attack, which is with relentless force back, not worrying about what the world community said, not giving a damn what some losers at Columbia University said or any other university. Remember, you saw the hostages be returned. And you'll see people tonight out there with Palestinian flags screaming from the river to the sea. They don't care about the war being over. They don't care about peace for the Palestinians or for Gaza. They want dead Jews, a dead Israel, destroyed America. What don't we know about this? They've shown themselves. We've seen their ugly, despicable faces. They can't hide from themselves, never mind from us. We see them. We see them every day. We know exactly what they are all about. But this didn't even really start in terms of the Israelis saying, no, we're not stopping until these people are gone. And for the record, and I've said it before and I'm not changing my words, I'm overjoyed that the hostages are back. It was really a moment. All of them are out, and it really, I did take a breath. And then someone had mentioned that all of the hostages that are alive are men, which leads to a question of what Hamas actually did to the women. Save that for now, if you can. What has happened today is sensational. What led to this possibility, I think, takes us back to the Abraham Accords. And Trump loves talking about the Abraham Accords. And he likes to refer to them as the Abraham Accords. I don't know why he's into that, but like he's done it a couple times. Like that's his new thing. There's something about it that he loves.
Jared has been so helpful. He really did something very special. He established the Abraham Accords with a group of very wonderful people. I like calling it the Avraham Accords because people that, right? Avraham. It's so cool. It's so much sort of nicer, you know?
He's in front of the Knesset. You just got the hostages back. This war is at least temporarily over. Iran has been neutered. He's like, that's so cool. There is no quit in the man at all. The Abraham Accords reset a thought process in the Middle East. If you want to understand, in my view, how we get to this moment today, you have to go back to Trump's first term and the very revolutionary concept therein. Because the Abraham Accords, the Avraham Accords, they reset a philosophy. They reset a question. Well, we're not going to have peace with Israel until we solve this thing about the Palestinians. Hey, it's not going to get solved today. Probably won't get solved tomorrow. You want to do some trade in the meantime? Make some money? Kind of get to know each other? Let's do that, and then we'll figure this out. Let's change how relationships work so we have a better chance against the Iranian hegemony. Because those guys, they'll kill all of us. They're crazy. Them be nuts. You know, they're not like us. So how about this? How about we all hang out? We all do some work together. All right, we've got this disagreement. We're going to figure it out. We can figure it out. But maybe we'll get to know each other first. I don't know, maybe a cocktail, a blintz, you know, a little something. Well, maybe a sleepover. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? I've got footy pajamas. And then This is our issue. This thing we can figure out. We're here. We'll figure it out. These people are the issue. And changing the fundamental conversation, change the possibility of future conversations. And so now, as they gather in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Egypt, 20 world leaders, Trump sitting with the Egyptian president. That's Abdel el-Sisi. You get there today because of what was laid before it. The foundation, the seeding, the planting, the sowing, and now the reaping. It's an incredible day. And those who aren't happy, those people are the ones you need to look out for. I'm Tony Katz. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. What's going on? You know, we built those new sounds there, and I thought we had the royalties. I thought we took care of all that, and we didn't. And so we've been getting these notices. Your video is not able to be monetized. So I know we haven't fixed them all yet. So I'm still using it. Like, all right, we'll have a couple days of not being monetized. We'll be all right. Tony Katz, that's my name. The show is Tony Katz today. I appreciate you guys being here. Find it all at TonyKatz.com. What's going on? Yes, by the way, for those of you who were with me, did I get a cat snap? I was up at 2 to see this happen. And then I started, because Trump was supposed to speak at 4. Trump was supposed to speak in front of the Knesset at 4 a.m., so at 11 a.m. Israel time. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to cover this. And so I was live streaming. And Trump didn't speak until 7. So I did 5 hours this morning. Woke up at 2 and did 5 hours straight. Yeah, so I guess tired is a fine word for it. Also, I'm scheduled to be on Newsmax at 2:15. You asked me, Tony, you're on the air. How do you do that? Magic. It means we'll cut the live stream short today as I get set up for it. This is the gig. This is it. There are times where you got to work. So I work. Times where you got to cover it. I want to cover it. So here I'm at. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Also, you don't have to worry about the monetizing. Sponsorship's now available. You should come be a part of what we're doing over here. And we're going to get back to the show. Standing by. Why are people in the chat room talking about rum? Oh, someone was in the islands, St. Martin. So they're asking about rum. The Baku rum, the 12-year, BAC, was it BACOO? I have a bottle somewhere. I showed it to you guys the other day. I'm telling you, I'm still thinking about it. The Baku 12-year rum, it was like $30 a bottle. Yeah, bravissimo. Well done. Well played. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Of all the unique headlines, tech billionaire Mark Benioff calls for Trump to send National Guard to San Francisco. I fully support the president. Let me explain to you why this is interesting. Mark Benioff owns Salesforce. So not a small company. And Benioff, I've been in the Salesforce offices in Indianapolis. And if I remember correctly, lots of pictures of Michelle Obama. I wouldn't say Salesforce was super kind to conservatives. Not in the slightest. But Mark Benioff is the guy who took a look at how in Indiana was engaging their abortion laws post the Dobbs decision and said, anyone who feels uncomfortable in Indiana, here's, what was it, $50,000 to move? And I said at the time, are they supposed to feel more comfortable in San Francisco, where they're trying not to get killed while they avoid stepping in human poop? And now here he is in full support of the president, because it's an absolute horror show. I had to clean that up for radio in San Francisco. It's a mess. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows San Francisco is a disaster. Funny. It's usually the limousine liberal doesn't learn because they're able to avoid all of the pain that would teach. Pain does indeed teach. I think that's true. I don't think that you want to purposely or willfully inflict pain on people. But when you touch the hot stove, you learn to check to see if the stove is on. When you see policies that don't work, you're like, hey, I don't want those policies. But what's interesting is that lefties don't seem to learn, hey, this terrible policy is really hurting us here, so we're going to move, and then we bring this terrible policy with us. Here he's saying these policies don't work. Why don't we get the help and get the National Guard and actually make this place better? Correct. Why don't you? At that moment, Mark Benioff, you know you're not a liberal anymore, right? Okay, Trump's not really your guy, but you're not a liberal anymore. And anybody who says, yeah, Mark Benioff is right, this San Francisco is terrible, you're not a liberal anymore. Now, you might not see the world the way I do, and that's okay. But what a great first step to realize that things can be better. And you know that, so why don't these elected officials know that? Why don't they do anything about it? That's the question. This is Tony Katz today. And that is the question. I'm talking about Baku rum, and Landon's talking about rum chata. Honestly, I try so hard to elevate the culture up in here. And you people, oh, by the way, I meant you people. So, send your emails. Hold on, wait, what about this one? Wait, is that different than this one? So that's supposed to be royalty free. My hair is haircut free. I gotta work on that. Look at that. Then again, like I'm always looking to the side. Why do I always? Because the monitor's here and the monitor's there and the camera's straight ahead. I should have a monitor. I'm just terrible at this. Anyway, it's good to be with you. It's good to be here. Wait, do I really have to put that in the description? You put it in the description, Sarah. I'm not putting that in the description. You tell YouTube they can suck it. All right, so we've got that. Is President Trump now speaking? Let me see. Let me see if he is. All right, let's see. Sorry. They're doing ads. Let me get that over there. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything for you guys. It says the program has ended. Well, what do you want from me? I'm not in charge of when they start or when they end. Yeah, I think they just had that wrong. So they still say he's speaking, but he is clearly not. But he might later. And if I'm here, I will bring it to you unquestionably. We'll talk a little bit of shutdown. I use StreamYard, Claudia. I am one of the few people. I can't make OBS Studio work for me at all. I can't do it in the slightest. I'm done trying. If someone else wants to do it, feel free. So I use StreamYard, and for the most part, I think it works well. Now, what is this, Carol? Inflicting pain over insurance coverage for illegals, also funding for transgenders. Please, Democrats are terrorists. President Trump made peace with Middle East easier than U.S. Democrat terrorists. Well, that's throwing down some gauntlet right there. You're talking about the shutdown. Yes. I will address. I might use different words, but I will get to the place. Trust me on that one. Trust me. I will make that happen. Let's get to the show.
Before Democrats recklessly shut down the government, Republicans and Democrats were engaged in responsible, open, bipartisan negotiations on the appropriations process. Republicans are eager to return to the actual negotiating table, to finish out full-year appropriations and do work on all the other matters before us, but we won't negotiate in smoke-filled back rooms, and we won't negotiate as hostages. Democrats in the Senate have been around a long time, and they'll remember this important plea, and I'll leave you with this thought. Listen closely to what I say here. Quote, there's only one way out of this reckless and damaging shutdown. Pass a budget that funds our government with no partisan strings attached. The American people don't get to demand ransom in exchange for doing their job. Neither does Congress. They don't get to hold our democracy or our economy hostage over a settled law. That's not how our democracy is supposed to work. That's why I won't pay a ransom in exchange for reopening the government. I'll always work with anyone of either party on ways to grow this economy, create new jobs, and get our fiscal house in order for the long haul, but not under the shadow of these threats, unquote. What I just read was a direct quote. Those are not my words. They belong to President Barack Obama. He was speaking there in 2013 when our government was shut down for 16 days. This would be the third longest government shutdown in American history. That one would be. And my friends, if Democrats keep up their obstruction here today, this is where we're going to be headed. We're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history unless Democrats drop their partisan demands and pass a clean, no-strings-attached budget to reopen the government and pay our federal workers.
They want the pain. We should be clear. The Democratic Party wants the pain. They have admitted it. They have said it. There's not even a question nor a debate. Someone wants to argue with me? Go right ahead. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today, 833-GOT-TONY, 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. Allow me to prove it to you. First things first, the shutdown does continue. And we have Trump saying that they're going to use other monies to pay the government. I'm sorry, to pay the military while this government shutdown takes place. Now, if everyone's getting paid, I don't even know what the point of a shutdown is. Like, shutdowns don't matter. If everyone's getting paid, who actually cares? It's when people don't get paid and there's some actual skin in the game that usually people get to work. In this situation, the Democrats are banking on it. They are counting on it. They want it. CNN is holding a town hall. And you say to me, Tony, CNN has had town halls before. They'll have a town hall again. It's not a thing. They're having a town hall with Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Ocasio-Cortez. That is one heck of a town hall. And as Caitlin Collins of CNN announced, this was a town hall to talk about the government shutdown. Well, Tony, so they're going to have a town hall today about the shutdown. No. No, not today. As I talk to you today, it's Monday. So when are they going to have the town hall? Oh, they're gonna have the town hall on Wednesday. So they're going to have a town hall 2 days from now. They're going to have a shutdown 2 days from now? Well, they must think they're going to have a shutdown 2 days from now because they're going to have a shutdown on Wednesday. When did they announce this today? No, I'm sorry. No, they announced this on Friday. What now? What? I'm sorry, Tony. I a little bit deaf in this ear. You're going to have to speak a little louder, said Willy Wonka. Did you just say they announced this on Friday? They announced it on Friday. That is correct. That is accurate. 5 days before they're going to have a town hall about the shutdown, CNN gleefully announces for their Democratic kin, we're going to have a town hall with Bernie Sanders and Representative Ocasio-Cortez, or said differently, the 2028 presidential ticket. I know some people just threw up a little bit in their mouths. I feel bad. I should have issued some kind of warning. Clearly, I'm wrong about that, and I apologize. I don't even know if I do. Actually, I do have a Democratic ticket warning. I've got one right here.
I hate old white men.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I hate old white men.
That sounds right. Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez, him a perennial candidate, her nothing but the conversation of running for president or running for Senate and taking Chuck Schumer's seat. And now they're going to have a town hall about the shutdown 5 days ahead of time. They're announcing it.
Okay, people, move along. There's nothing to see here.
Yep. Nothing to see here at all. Except, of course, everything you know to be true. Starting on Wednesday, paychecks don't go out. And what the left has decided is that you feeling pain, government worker, is more important than solving the problem by voting for a clean resolution and then working on the Obamacare subsidies. Now, you know where I'm at on the Obamacare subsidies, right? you understand what Trump's going to do. Trump is going to extend those subsidies in a bigger way than Democrats ever dreamed and steal the subject from them. Democrats can't have the subject stolen from them. They already lost the abortion fight. They lose the universal health care fight. Well, this is the other part of their religion. They'll have nothing left but wanting illegal immigrants to have voting rights and the ability to go about violence campaigns in your bedroom. They'll have nothing, and it's sad. And they're like, we have to hold on to this. So they're pretending to make a show about something that they voted for. It is Democrats that voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, which extended the Obamacare subsidies through the end of 2025, when they will sunset based on their writing of the legislation and the vote on the legislation. They did this. Republican healthcare crisis. Oh, honey. Boo-boo, pookie, shmoo. We see you. And we see you're full of crap. They don't care if they inflict pain, as long as they can get power. This is their systemology. This is their theory. This is their philosophy. Speaker Johnson?
I want every American to hear this clearly. What Barack Obama demanded then is exactly what Republicans are saying now. We will not allow the American people to be taken hostage over partisan demands. Democrats cheered on Barack Obama back then, and now they flipped their entire position out of pure politics. It's now time for them to take their favorite president's advice, do what he said was right, pass the clean, no-strings-attached bill, and reopen the government. We're on duty here, and we can return quickly to legislative session as soon as you turn the lights back on, Chuck Schumer, and end this unnecessary hardship for the American people.
Mike Johnson's a little better than people thought. I think that's very, very clear. Mike Johnson is a little bit better than everybody thought when he was the, what's the word I'm looking for? The acceptable choice after they removed Kevin McCarthy, which never should have happened. Matt Gaetz was wrong, and he will always be wrong on that subject. I did like hearing Speaker Johnson go at Chuck Schumer.
The only thing that's changed is his personal political calculation. His consultants and his pollsters have told him he needs to show a fight to President Trump, even if it means hurting millions of American families. So that is exactly what Chuck Schumer is doing. He's determined that his own political survival is worth the irreversible harm he's inflicting on the American people. He's gambling with people's lives and livelihoods to appease the far-left Marxist base of his party so that he can keep his job. And make no mistake, this is bigger than Chuck Schumer. Democrats are terrified of their radical Marxist base. The ones who have been here for a while, kind of your father, your grandfather's Democrat Party, the remnant of those folks who are still here in the halls, they're terrified to show any willingness to work with Republicans or to work with President Trump.
You know how true that is, because you know exactly what he's saying. The difference between the progressives we see and the Democrats we used to know. And we should be clear, there are still those Democrats, and most likely that's your neighbor. Most likely that's the person at work who you disagree with politically, but you go out and have a beer together. That's a Democrat. Not these people. Because these people are okay with shooting at you when they disagree with you and then tell you why your skirt was too short, and that's why the firing happened. That's why the bullets went flying. He's absolutely correct. Chuck Schumer is in a political bind because his career is coming to an end. You could not look more feckless on shutdowns twice. The first when he capitulated in March, and now this, because he's not going to make the same mistake twice, but he doesn't have the proper factoring in on how you fight, on when to fight, on what subject to fight. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have it. He's not a wartime conciliary. Who was the first person you ever heard say that? Oh, that's right. Me. We had it first, guys, before anybody else. So CNN holds a town hall because Democrats are celebrating the pain they're inflicting on Americans by announcing this town hall 5 days before it happens, telegraphing that they have no intention of stopping this shutdown. They're okay with Americans getting hurt, with military members not being paid, with others losing their gigs, because now Russ Vought has stepped up and said, okay, the firings have begun. Over 4,000 employees are going to be fired. 1,400 in Treasury, 1,400 in Health and Human Services. 1,100 in Health and Human Services. Education and Housing and Urban Development, over 400 staffers each. Although I would do a lot more, because if it was me, there wouldn't be a Department of Education anymore. Those days are over. Fire them. Fire them because we don't need them. There's no reason to have people working for us if they don't provide a value for the American citizen. But Democrats are willing to inflict maximum pain to get their desires. I thought it wasn't supposed to be party over principle. Well, this brings us to a whole big conversation about toning down the rhetoric, which I will get into. This is Tony Katz Today. There's this video out there of, all these world leaders are coming to Egypt to talk about a peace deal and what peace could look like, and these gatherings are taking place, and there's Trump shaking hands with Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority. And you're like, well, this is just different. And it's like Abbas didn't quite understand and ready to go. And so Trump literally takes his hand, not shaking his hand, just takes his hand. He's like, come on, take a picture. Take a picture, give a little smile. He's doing the thumbs up and the big smile. One of those. And Abbas is like, where am I? But it was very grandfatherly. Or basically how you would treat your grandfather, because Trump was the young one in that comparative one. But this interview with Trey Yingst is really interesting, because it's Trump saying this all started, this possibility of peace started when we took out the Iranian nuclear capability. Yeah. Every time you diminish Iran, you have a better chance at survival. And who was trying to more codify Iran and support Iran and build Iran? Obama, Biden, Blinken, and those Obama bros like Tommy Vitor. Tell me more about how the Iranian nuclear deal works, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Tell me more. Tell me more about how supporting their nuclear ambitions was good for all of us. You dopies. By the way, dopey is the kind way of saying it. You know, I'm still a professional. And Hamas is still executing people. They haven't stopped. Oh, you collaborated with Israelis? Well, we decided you did. So we just shoot you right now. I can't show you this. I can't show you any of this. They're just executing people in the town square. This is happening. Do you not understand that Hamas are a barbaric group? This is all barbarism. This is all they know. This is what they want for the world. You think these people should have power? You're going to go out there, you pro-Hamas supporters, claiming that you're for the Free Palestine crowd. We know what you're for. This is what you're for. You're for death squads. You and your college professors and your so-called people who care. Go ahead, Mark Ruffalo. Explain this one. Answer is this what you're looking for? I can't even show it. Because I'm pretty sure I can't show death squads on video. Maybe you can. There aren't rules, but I have rules. People want to look up videos that can.
Situation, and they're being sought out, and they're working with many different people, finding some were brought in and some were not, and they're working out to find out where those bodies are. It's hard to believe that you even have to say something like that. It's so sad. It's so sad. But what's not sad is that we have finally, after, I guess they say 3,000 years, I've heard from 3,000 years to 500 years, but whatever it is, it's a lot. But this was the one, this was the granddaddy of them all, and frankly, I thought this was probably going to be the toughest, and maybe in many ways it was, but we had a lot of good talent. Steve Witkoff, Jared, and Marco, and Pete, and General Kane was so great. John Ratcliffe was incredible. We had an amazing array of talent, and we were helped by, in particular, the countries represented at this table.
He's in Egypt. They're having this summit, and it literally says Peace 2025. There are times where I disagree with President Trump on tariffs, for example, and some economic policy. Certainly, I'm not interested in giving the Chinese 600,000 student visas to learn in our universities and then use that knowledge against us, while they try and bring in viruses in their socks and mail them to themselves so they can do experiments in our labs. But this is unbelievable. And when you see the people who refuse to give him credit, you know. See, that's just it. If you doubt the ability of the American people to recognize basic truths, you're going to fail. White, black, Asian, Hispanic, rich, poor, Christian, Jew, Muslim. Honest people know that this is incredible. And violent people who want to destroy everything we have, they refuse to notice. Which is going to bring us to a conversation about toning down the rhetoric, to which I say no. And I'll explain coming up. I'm Tony Katz. Um, I have been in this headspace for, I will admit, not a long time. Because I don't think that really there was an in earnest conversation about toning down the rhetoric since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, although there was a conversation that I thought was really going to take place after the assassination attempt on President Trump, because you saw how members of Congress were dealing with the then Secret Service Director, Kim Cheadle. And after about 3 questions, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. They shot at the former president. They shot at a presidential candidate, and they all see themselves as presidential candidates. You don't have a guy in the roof. What do you mean you can't explain to yourself? What do you mean the roof had too much of a slope? What words are happening here? Why don't you know? And it was, if you remember it, it wasn't me who said it first, but I completely agreed with the assessment. It was the most sober congressional hearing I have ever heard. Democrats, Republicans, Ocasio-Cortez is asking totally normal questions and totally frustrated questions. Why can't you answer her? They weren't gotchas. They were the most basic fundamentals. And I assumed it was because they all thought that could be them one day, and they don't want that, and no one should. But nope, that didn't tone down the rhetoric. Over the last few days, I have been having this talk with myself about this whole tone down the rhetoric. What do they mean? Tone down the rhetoric. Why is anybody saying tone down the rhetoric? Well, they don't tone down the rhetoric. And so what I came to understand as I was explaining this to my mother-in-law, it was over the weekend. We're sitting on the deck. She's in town. I'm explaining what it is that what I'm seeing. And I started the real outline of this theory, that the answer to we need to tone down the rhetoric is no. Now, you could argue that the answer is, what's this we crap? But the answer is no. We don't. We don't. And I'm going to explain why. We're in the radio break, so we're going to take the break right now. I'm glad you guys are here. If you smoke them, if you got them, right? Hang loose, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Don't miss anything. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. This is an aging room. Maduro is what I'm smoking. Aging Room is the name of the company. This is one of their simpler cigars, but it's Churchill, 7-inch by, what is this, 50? 48. 7-inch by 40. We'll say 48. Soft box press, which I like. Good cigar for the show. They do a beautiful Nicaraguan. It does Aging Room. You should check it out for yourself. Not sponsors. I just had the cigar, so that's what I'm smoking. I'm going to get into this conversation about toning down the rhetoric, because I'm not a buyer. I don't think you should, because it doesn't mean what you think it means. I'm just typing this out for everybody on the Twitter X. And then this Friday, I'm not in. I am doing a political panel with Glenn Beck. I got invited to be a part of something at a station where I'm on weekends, WOWO, which is his sister station of 95.3 MNC and MNC Nation, where I'm on Monday through Friday, noon to 3. So I am going to go do that, and should be interesting. I've never met Glenn before, so should be a good time. Back to the show. Let the games begin, everybody.
Along with my friends, which were all murdered. One of them, Tamil was still held. His body is still held in Gaza. Later on, I was taken captive for 498 days, leaving my wife with just 2 girls up to then. She was pregnant.
I wish the audio was a little better. This was a hostage speaking to President Trump before he spoke at the Knesset, sitting next to Benjamin Netanyahu. This man who was captive thanking President Trump for getting his life back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Incredible, incredible stuff as we take a look at what has happened today and the freeing of the hostages held in captivity by the Hamas terrorists, supported by Columbia University students and far too many others around the globe. President Trump telling Trey Yingst that this was really possible because of what we did in Iran.
Mr. President, thank you for speaking with Fox News.
Thank you very much. And you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you, sir. 20 Israelis who were held hostage by Hamas for more than 2 years were released today as part of your peace plan. What did that moment mean to you?
Well, everything. You see the enthusiasm really beyond Israel, all over the world. I've never seen anything like it. And I think it just means peace for the Middle East, and it somehow represents, they become representatives of peace for the Middle East, and that's why it's gone like this. Nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
Talk me through how this deal came together. There were very intense negotiations. Our reporting indicates that you were personally on the phone to get this across the finish line. What happened, and when did you know that Hamas was going to release the hostages?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it really started when we took out the nuclear capability of Iran. When you look at what they had, you couldn't have made this deal if somebody's sitting over there with a nuclear weapon over your head. And I think when we did that, and there were other obviously very warlike things that we did over the course of 4 or 5 years, if setting the table. But when we did when we took away that destructive capability from Iran.
Tucker Carlson hurt worst. I guess it didn't start World War III, and I certainly hope we never see a World War III. But we should be clear that Iran is the reason for so much of the horror and the destabilization. And what we're seeing now is the opportunity for something. I don't know if it's going to work. It might take a couple tries, but certainly better than what we've seen. Do I think for a second you can have peace with Hamas? I don't. Hamas you cannot have peace with because Hamas is a terrorist organization, and one cannot have peace with a terrorist organization. Now, is that rhetoric? Do I need to tone down the rhetoric? I have been staring at the scene. Of course, you guys know I do 6 hours of radio a day, and I do work on TV, a whole bunch of Newsmax these days, and a lot of conversations, some consulting, some thinking, and I have been hearing about this tone down the rhetoric constantly, consistently. We need to tone down the rhetoric, and it hasn't sat right. It hasn't hit right. It's Malcolm Gladwell blank. Something's wrong, and I'm just not sure what it is yet. And I started thinking about, I wasn't the first person to come up with this, and I don't know who was, and I don't remember when I first heard it. But I started thinking about how we think of ourselves as people, or people like to think of themselves as being in the center. The center. Right? Usually you hear this ridiculousness. Well, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I like to hear both sides. Well, great. Me too. You ever notice that one side is right and one side is wrong? What does it mean to be like, oh no, I'm in the middle. I like to hear both sides. What does that even mean? That is a nonsense statement from nonsense people who have no mind and no willingness to open their mind. There is nothing more closed-minded than the idea, I like to hear both sides. It means you're not willing to say out loud a truth. This side has chocolate chip cookies. This side is stabbing your grandmother to death. Do you not have an opinion? Is one side better than the other? Is one thing better than the other? Is one thing more comfortable to you than the other? I mean, I don't know how many ways I have to do this. Well, I like to hear both sides. What does that matter? It's a nonsense statement. It is an ignorant statement. All rational people want to hear about all the sides. They want to hear all the ways something can be discussed. And then, well, based on the analysis, some things you might not have an opinion on. Do you like walnuts in your chocolate chip cookies? You may not have an opinion. Me, I don't mind walnuts in a chocolate chip cookie. But just don't call it a chocolate chip cookie, because if I bite into a chocolate chip cookie and there's walnuts, I'm going to call your mom names because this was a chocolate chip walnut cookie. Be proper. But something about that center thing. And you start thinking about something I brought up earlier, which is where the parties have been and where they've gone and what we have seen throughout our recent history. Let's go back to Paul Ryan and how Democrats said of Paul Ryan, the Republican who was the Speaker of the House from Wisconsin. He was the vice presidential running mate with Mitt Romney. Paul Ryan wants to push grandma off a cliff. What? I know he did P90X and he was pretty strong, but I don't think he wants to push grandma off a cliff. That's an insane thing to say. But the political left said it. Would the political left have said that 20 years ago? You know, when we talk about when Democrats were Democrats, we just disagreed on some things. You know, oh my gosh, we could all disagree and argue and harangue each other and all the rest. But at the end of the day, we could go out and share a beer together. Now, never mind that that's got its own level of issues. The question is, if you're calling Paul Ryan, if you're saying of him he wants to push grandma off a cliff, I don't care what you think about Paul Ryan. It means nothing to me. We can argue that that's different. That you could take a look at the center and say, well, to the right of the center is the Republicans, to the left of the center is the Democrats. But when you're talking about pushing grandma off the cliff, the left has gone a little further over to the left. But the right didn't move from where they are. So if you start with a center, pick anything, pick any object, put it in front of you, and then put your hands in front of you, equidistant from that thing that's in the center. Now move your left hand a foot to the left. The center is no longer the center. Center shifts. And this is what the left has been doing for decades. Shifting the center left and then proclaiming by default, look how far the political right is to the right. They never moved. The left moved to the left because they went from we disagree to Paul Ryan wants to push grandma off a cliff to it's okay to assassinate Charlie Kirk because he said things we don't like. That's what happened. They went from we disagree to push grandma off the cliff to we don't let Jewish students walk around this campus without feeling fear. They went from we disagree, grandma cliff, to we destroy your signs if you're against abortion and we might attack you while we're at it because you're messing with our religion. The left moved further left. The right stayed where it is. And the center moved. Now, I will argue that it is very clear that, of course, there are people on the right who have done things that are unacceptable, and where there are people on the right who right now are engaging in this woke right nonsense, whether that be Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, as we've brought up before. But as a matter of policy, as a matter of generality, they stayed here and the center has shifted. So how does somebody now tell me to tone down the rhetoric? I'm not the one who got extreme. I still think taxes should be low, if not non-existent. I believe in property rights. I think capitalism is awesome because it is, and communism sucks. That was true when I started my radio career. Still true. What are you talking about? Tone down the rhetoric. There were these people protesting immigrations and customs enforcement. And over in Portland, they decided they were going to protest this anti-ICE protest. These people attacking immigrations and customs enforcement, and they're riding their bikes nude down the street. That was their protest. And they want me to tone down the rhetoric. But what rhetoric? When I say men are not women and women are not men, that's not rhetoric, that's fact. When I say buy guns, buy ammo, get trained, go home alive, protect yourself and the ones you love, and if you go to your synagogue, your church, your place of worship, you should always be armed because there are people out there trying to do you harm for practicing your religion, that's rational. It's not extreme at any level. When I say we should deport illegal immigrants and we should work towards having zero illegal immigration while having a very robust program of legal immigration for people who actually want to be Americans, what is my rhetoric? What rhetoric are you referring to that I have to tone down? The statement, we have to tone down the rhetoric, is meant solely to silence under the guise of civility, and that is not civility. Civility is not please and thank you and holding the door open. Civility is the majority not tyrannizing and slaughtering the minority. That is civility. I have been staring at this line, tone down the rhetoric, as we've talked about it for a great number of years. And what I have determined is no. Because you don't mean it, those people who say it, and say it with some level of earnestness, like they care. You don't mean it. And you cannot point to the specific quote-unquote rhetoric that must be toned down. Because if you tell me I have to tone down the truth of men are not women, women are not men, we don't allow children to abuse themselves, we don't allow grown-ups to abuse children, you cannot change your gender, and we should not feed into mental illness. I can't tone down the facts. I can't tone down the truth. I can't tone down the honesty. So you don't mean tone down. You mean stop talking. Not you, they. And the answer is no. We should fire everybody in the federal government who is not essential to the running of the government that the citizens require. Tone down the rhetoric? No. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are anti-Semites based on their own words. Tone down the rhetoric. Oh, they mean don't notice. Oh gosh, no. We absolutely should not tone down the rhetoric. Better said, we should not pay any attention to that nonsense pablum of a statement. Because they don't mean, hey, let's get back to just having some disagreements. No. They're well out here on the left. And they're trying to establish a center where you are silenced. I think you should say no to that. Because I'm going to say no to that. Very loudly. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. So they keep trying to tell me that Donald Trump is speaking, but did he start? Let me see. Let's see what we will see. Oh, look at that. Maloney's behind him. Here's Keir Starmer.
And the leaders, the top people,
Screw
the
Keir
top leaders
Starmer.
want to be on the board of peace.
Recognizing
It's a
Palestine.
beautiful term. At first I wasn't sure, and then I realized how beautiful it is. And for the people of Gaza, the focus now must be on restoring the basics of a good life. We're going to
I
have
like
a lot
George
of money
Maloney.
coming into
Makes
Gaza,
me
a
laugh.
lot of rebuilding and building. It's not so much rebuilding, it's really building, cleaning up and building. And I'm pleased to announce that numerous countries of great wealth and power and dignity have come forward to me just today and over the last week to say they want to help in the reconstruction of Gaza, putting up whatever money is necessary.
Make a
The
profit.
money is, of course, it's a lot of money, but it's not much compared to the value or the wealth of these tremendous countries. And they are ensuring stability and success in the Middle East. So when you think about it, it's a very, very small amount of money is necessary, relatively speaking. And as those commitments are made, I'm going to let the world know who is doing it, because they really deserve great credit for doing it. And they're going to do something that's really monumental. This is a monumental day. This is a monumental moment in the history of the world beyond the Middle East. We've all agreed that supporting Gaza must be done to lift up the people themselves, but we don't want to fund anything having to do with bloodshed, hatred, or terror, as has happened in the past. And for the same reason, we're also agreed that Gaza's reconstruction requires that it be demilitarized and that a new, honest civilian police force must be allowed to create a safe condition for the people in Gaza. As I said earlier, I intend to be a partner in securing a better future. We're going to be working, you're going to be working with the United States, and we're going to make sure that the Middle East is going to be a safe and secure place. It's a very important place in the world, means so much. There were so many people who said the Middle East, and this has been going for many, many decades. I've read it many times, that World War III will begin in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
President Trump speaking now after signing some documents, world leaders behind him. There's Keir Starmer, who despicably recognized Palestine, giving aid and comfort to Hamas. And there's Giorgia Maloney of Italy, who famously rolls her eyes at people like Keir Starmer. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. President Trump just saying the country is going to be putting money into Gaza, not rebuilding, actually building it for the first time proper and well, in his words, and then saying that it will be demilitarized, which might be news to Hamas. They cannot have any weapons. They need to be gone and in jail and worse. A little bit more from President Trump.
They didn't get along. Some did, some didn't, but they're getting along now. This has brought the people together. This is the first time the Middle East crisis has brought people together as opposed to driving them apart. And to declare that our future will not be ruled by the fights of the generations past, which is foolish. So together, let us continue in the spirit of cooperation and goodwill that has finally brought us to this incredible, historic breakthrough. If we do together, we will reach the Middle East's incredible destiny, a safe and prosperous and beautiful crossroads of culture and commerce, faith in humanity and geographic center. This will be the geographic center of the world. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you all for what you've done and for this quick notice. It all came together just at one little period. It just came together. It's, the greatest deals happen that way. If you do anything about deals, that's all I've done all my life is deals. The greatest deals just sort of happen. And that's what happened right here. And maybe this is going to be the greatest deal of them all, not just nation building, not just having to do with this or the political whims. This will be maybe the greatest deal of them all, period. And I want to thank all of you and all of these great nations and this region for what it's gone through and all of the fights it's had, or life over death and hope over strife and harmony over hatred. That's what we want. We want it to be that way because together we're going to forge a magnificent, great, and enduring peace. I want to just end by saying God bless you all. God bless the Middle East. God bless your countries, and God bless you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
The president was not that poetic at the Knesset,
Thank you very much.
but don't ever question if the man's genuine. That's what that was. In every way. I see Antonio Guterres is there from the UN. Just remember, the UN takes our money and they didn't do anything except provide money to the terrorists who attacked Israel. We should really discuss getting out of the UN. Noah Rothman breaks it down next. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. Well, he's hanging out with Keir Starmer, shaking hands. Look at this. Everybody's happy, just milling about. Trump's just doing Trump things. Everyone's like, hey, I'm going to shake this guy's hand. I'm going to shake somebody else's hand. Look at him. He's still there. He's still talking. What is he doing?
I just want to thank you very much for being here. We'll be meeting again. We're going to be drawing some names. If you want to get involved on the Board of Peace, you'll let us know.
That's right.
And I just want to thank everybody. This is really a special occasion. Thank you all very much. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Thank
it's
you
like a
very
mixer.
much.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for coming to the Christmas party. Hope everybody enjoyed the eggnog. Really, don't forget your Secret Santa gift. Some of our doozies. Really, thank you guys all for coming. It's really good to see friends. Thank you all. Now he's on a hot mic. He shook hands with the terrorists. I think that is the leader of Indonesia, who is very pro-Israel. Very pro-Israel. It was a massive statement. I think that's who that is. Not on a hot mic. Watching.
Thank you.
I told Harry also. We'll look for better place. Yeah,
Well, you want to know what that conversation is? Oh, that is fantastic. That guy's like, I'm taking my shot. I'm getting 2 minutes with Donnie, and I'm going to say some things. That was really something. So here's the story, guys. I am on Newsmax at 2:15. Don't ask about the radio show. It still goes on. It's magic, I tell you. So that's what I'll be doing. I will be on at 2:15. I have been on the air since 4 a.m. I did 4 to 9 and then coming back. So I have to get ready for this Newsmax hit, and then I have to fall asleep, which won't happen. I've got other work to do. Appreciate you guys very much. Can't thank you enough for being here and being part of what we do each and every day. I'm back tomorrow, so you should tune in at noon. Do that, and don't forget, head on over to TonyKatz.com and subscribe. Get the show sheet. Get all the good stuff. It's over there at TonyKatz.com. I'd appreciate it very, very much if you would. The radio show continues. I got to get to it, guys. I will catch you later. Take care.